There are many ways to build a Berserker in Stoneshard. Heavy armor, full vitality, or even a glass cannon. All of them can work, but this build goes a step further. It's a build centered around Berserker Tradition, designed to take advantage of every aspect of this passive while using light armor and dual axes. Every decision I made, from the attributes and skill trees to the equipment and combat style, was built around a single passive. Not because it's the strongest passive in the game, but because I think it's one of the most interesting. When people hear Berserker Tradition, they usually think of the classic risk versus reward mechanic. Lower health, higher damage. But that's only a small part of what it really offers. This passive rewards taking hits. It rewards fighting through pain. It rewards being surrounded by enemies. It rewards long fights. And once I realized that, the entire build started to come together. At first, it was difficult to find an effective approach. Taking hits while wearing light armor could easily be fatal. So the real challenge was figuring out how to take advantage of all those bonuses without dying in the process. Little by little, the answer started to emerge. It was no longer about choosing the strongest skills or the best equipment. It was about building a playstyle that could take advantage of every one of those effects. So before we talk about attributes, skills, or equipment, let's first understand what Berserker Tradition is really asking us to do. This passive doesn't reward reckless aggression. It rewards commitment. It rewards staying in the fight. The longer the combat lasts, the more value you get from every part of the passive. Missing health reduces the damage you take. Pain increases your weapon damage. Receiving hits builds counter chance. Missing attacks builds critical chance. Fighting surrounded increases your critical efficiency. None of these bonuses are meant to win the fight immediately. They accumulate. They grow over time. And that's exactly what makes this passive so unique. It doesn't ask you to burst enemies down. It asks you to survive long enough for all of these bonuses to work together. Keeping the build's identity in mind, you're probably wondering, how do you survive long fights while using dual axes and light armor? That's exactly the interesting part. It doesn't rely on a single mechanic, but on several small synergies working together. And it all starts with the attributes. The two core attributes of this build are strength and agility. Strength isn't just about increasing weapon damage, body part damage, and critical damage. It also provides one of the build's main defensive layers through block chance and block power. At first glance, that might not sound like enough. After all, axes aren't known for blocking like shields are. And you're right. By itself, it isn't enough. But later you'll see how this defensive layer works together with the rest of the build to create a surprisingly durable playstyle. Next comes agility, the natural choice for any dual-wield build. Besides increasing hand efficiency, it also strengthens two mechanics that are essential to this build: dodge and counter chance. Since we're wearing light armor, both become major sources of survivability. To round things out, we invest a few points into perception for extra critical chance, accuracy, and armor penetration. Finally, we take some vitality, not to become a traditional tank, but to gain a little more health and improve the recovery provided by several defensive skills. None of these attributes were chosen in isolation. Each one contributes a different piece of the puzzle. Only when they're combined with the skills and the intended playstyle does the build truly come together. As for the attribute progression, it was pretty straightforward. I focused on getting strength and agility to 21st. After that, I invested the remaining points into 15 vitality and 15 perception. Now that we know which attributes the build is based on, let's see how it all comes together once we combine them with the skill trees. During the early levels, it may look like a fairly standard dual-wield axe build, and to some extent it is. The skills that truly define this build's identity come a little later. It's only around level 10 that the build begins to take shape and reveal its full potential. The answer isn't a single skill. It's the combination of different tools that limit the enemy's ability to punish us. The goal is to block or dodge fumble attacks, drastically reducing the damage we take while also minimizing the enemy's chances of applying crowd control effects through their attacks. As we continue blocking or dodging fumble attacks, we gradually build up Berserker Tradition, while also making our counterattacks stronger and stronger. With that in mind, as we go through every skill this build uses, I'll explain the role each one plays and why I chose it. To make things easier to follow, I've divided them into 4 groups. Let's start with the defensive skills. Some are situational, others become stronger the more enemies surround us, and several can even turn into offensive tools thanks to the high number of counterattacks they generate. These skills are the backbone of the build. They're what allow us to stay in the fight long enough for the Berserker spirit to grow. But on their own, they aren't always enough. Some enemies can still break through our defenses, and that's where the second group comes in. The skills that apply fumble or stagger. These tools greatly reduce the enemy's offensive potential. After all, the blocking capabilities of axes alone aren't always enough to withstand the most dangerous attacks. The third group consists of our recovery skills. If a trade leaves us bleeding or with an injured body part, we need to recover quickly, so the power we've gained during the fight isn't overshadowed by those penalties. Finally, we have the Berserker-oriented skills. These are the abilities that turn the progression of combat into power. The longer the fight lasts, the more conditions are fulfilled. And the more conditions are fulfilled, the stronger Jorgrim becomes. Now let's see how all of this works in action while I explain a few important details. The first thing you need to learn isn't the build, it's your enemies. Because they'll determine when you should play defensively and when it's safe to switch to an aggressive approach. Keep in mind that this build usually starts fights from a defensive position. The goal is to gradually weaken the enemy while answering with counterattacks and stacking the bonuses from Berserker Tradition. That's why choosing the right skill at the right moment is so important. One of the most important abilities in the build is Enough for Everyone. You'll usually activate it once the fight is under control, either after applying Stagger to the most dangerous enemy, or once your main defensive buffs are already active. From that point on, this skill completely changes the way the build plays. Not only does it increase your survivability through additional dodge, damage taken reduction, and counter chance, but it also allows you to keep punishing that marked enemy while attacking everyone else. In other words, you can keep the most dangerous target under control without sacrificing your damage against the rest of the group. That's why it's so important to know when to look for a stagger, when to apply fumble attacks, and when to activate deflect to block or dodge a fumble attack before answering with an increasingly powerful counterattack. If you use your abilities correctly, this build can handle almost any situation. But that doesn't mean it's invincible. You still need to understand its limits and avoid taking unnecessary risks. From Tier 4 onward, enemies become significantly more dangerous. That's why learning to play around fumble and stagger stops being an advantage and becomes a necessity. Finally, always pay attention to bleeding. Bleeding greatly reduces the amount of healing you receive from any source. So if you need to recover health through thirst for battle or any other form of sustain, it's usually best to remove the bleeding effect before trying to heal. Whenever you're surrounded by enemies, I highly recommend using elusiveness. In many situations, it's actually a better choice than deflect. Not only does it grant a massive amount of dodge, but it also greatly increases the chances of enemies performing fumble attacks for the next 4 turns. And those 4 turns are incredibly valuable for this build. They give you enough time to activate deflect, set up your defensive tools, continue stacking the bonuses from Berserker Tradition, and answer with increasingly powerful counterattacks. Meanwhile, your axes keep wearing the enemy down by inflicting bleeding, damaging body parts, and gradually reducing their ability to keep fighting. Before you realize it, the entire fight has shifted in your favor. Your attacks become far more lethal. The enemies can barely fight back, and once the battle is over, just a couple of survival skills are enough to recover the damage you've taken and get you ready for the next encounter. That's the foundation of how every fight with this build is played. From there, we gradually add more abilities that further complement the playstyle. One of them is Adrenaline Rush. This skill becomes more valuable the longer the fight lasts and the lower your health gets. It restores energy, reduces pain, lowers the energy cost of your abilities, and improves energy regeneration, allowing you to maintain a steady pace throughout long encounters. It also gains additional stacks when you're surrounded by enemies, making its bonuses even stronger. At higher stacks, it even reduces your cooldowns, and if your health drops below 40%, it restores a small amount of health, helping you stabilize during the most dangerous moments of a fight. It doesn't change the way the build is played. Instead, it makes the entire system far more consistent. Thanks to it, you can keep using your abilities without constantly worrying about energy, while also managing the fatigue that naturally builds up during prolonged battles. Later in the game, we'll unlock Massacre from the One-Handed Axes tree. This skill adds a bit more damage, improves our bleeding potential, and increases body part damage. It doesn't redefine the build or change our playstyle. Instead, it gives us a small advantage at the start of each fight, while fitting perfectly into everything we've already built. And I think that's the most satisfying part of this build. Every good decision you make during combat is rewarded with more power. You're not just surviving or answering with counterattacks. At the same time, you're strengthening your Berserker. The better you play, the stronger you become. When it comes to gear, we're not simply looking for the highest damage possible. We're looking for the right balance that allows Berserker Tradition to shine throughout long fights. Starting with the weapons, I chose to use 2 different types of axes. In my main hand, I use a more offensive axe with high accuracy, bonuses to critical damage, body part damage, and armor penetration. Its job is to turn all the bonuses we accumulate during combat into meaningful damage. For the offhand, I went with a more defensive axe. Instead of maximizing damage, it provides block chance, counter chance, and bleeding chance, reinforcing the defensive tools that allow us to stay in the fight while Berserker Tradition continues to grow stronger. As for armor, the priority is wearing light equipment that enhances the mechanics this build revolves around. Mainly dodge, block, counter chance, critical chance, and accuracy. The goal isn't to absorb every hit like a traditional tank. It's to avoid part of the incoming damage, block whenever possible, and capitalize on every opportunity to answer with a counterattack. For the belt, I preferred sacrificing a bit of offensive power in exchange for additional block. Axes don't naturally provide much blocking potential, so every extra source becomes valuable during extended encounters. I followed the same philosophy with jewelry. Whenever possible, prioritize block chance first, then complement it with accuracy and some bleeding resistance. These stats improve the build's consistency without changing its overall identity. The only piece I'd consider a personal preference is the helmet. You can stick with a light helmet to maximize your offensive potential, or switch to a medium one if you'd rather gain extra protection and better resistance against crowd control. You'll sacrifice a bit of damage and mobility, but in return, you'll have a sturdier build against certain enemies. Build progression. This build also follows a very natural progression. During the early game, we're simply a dual-wield axis build, so our priority is to unlock the first abilities from both the one-handed axis and dual-wield trees. At this stage, the goal is to increase our damage while laying the foundation that our Berserker playstyle will later build upon. Once we reach Tier 2, we'll start investing points into warfare and athletics. The goal isn't to become significantly stronger right away, but to prepare for the abilities that truly define the build. Our first priorities are dash, allowing us to quickly close the distance against ranged enemies, and defensive tactic together with Berserker Tradition, which mark the beginning of the build's true identity. By Tier 3, the build starts to feel completely different. With Berserker Tradition online, our next objective is to push through the warfare tree as quickly as possible until we unlock offensive tactic. From this point onward, all of the build's mechanics begin working together, making long fights much more manageable. Around level 16, we'll begin preparing for Tier 4. The first skill I recommend prioritizing is Elusiveness, followed by the Survival tree and the remaining warfare skills until reaching Thirst for Battle. By around level 21, you'll have essentially unlocked the complete core of the build and the playstyle we've been working toward from the very beginning. Finally, in Tier 5, one of the most important abilities is Sudden Lunge. Not only does it put enemy abilities on cooldown, but it also applies Stagger, one of the most valuable control effects for this build, greatly reducing the enemy's ability to respond while we continue stacking Berserker Tradition's bonuses. From there, all that's left is refining the athletics tree and finishing the remaining one-handed axes skills. At that point, the build reaches its full potential. With everything we've covered, I think you now have a very clear understanding of how this build works and the kind of playstyle you can expect from this Berserker. Before finishing the guide, I'd like to leave you with a few tips that helped me tremendously throughout the entire playthrough. During the early game, I highly recommend always carrying a hunter net. It's an incredibly useful tool against dangerous enemies, allowing you to secure your attacks while limiting a portion of their offensive potential. Once you reach Tier 3, you'll start facing much more challenging enemies, especially mages, and particularly those using electromancy. Against them, positioning becomes far more important than raw damage. Use pillars for cover, force them to approach you, fight in tight spaces whenever possible, and if things go wrong, don't hesitate to use a smoke bomb to reposition yourself. Ignoring these tools often leads to disaster. If you successfully clear the Tier 3 dungeons, the build evolves once again in Tier 4. From that point on, simply surviving is no longer enough. You'll also need to carefully choose which enemy to weaken first and when to commit to each target. Pay close attention to enemies capable of inflicting stun, and never underestimate bleeding, as both can quickly turn a favorable fight into a dangerous one. Another mechanic you'll need to manage is fatigue. Long fights build it up very quickly, so I recommend traveling to Alda as soon as possible to obtain its brew, which provides valuable resistances for this build. You can also rely on foods like pancakes or any other meal that helps reduce fatigue. Finally, I always recommend bringing some kind of alcohol on your expeditions. Not only can it restore a bit of morale when things go wrong, but it also helps keep pain under control during your toughest battles. There are still countless little details I could talk about, but discovering them is part of the experience. Now it's your turn to learn the finer points, adapt to every situation, and most importantly, enjoy one of the most rewarding Berserker playstyles Stoneshard has to offer. And that's everything for this build. I hope you enjoyed it, and more importantly, I hope it helps you on your next adventure through Aldor. If you found this guide useful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future builds and upcoming series. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave a comment telling me what you think about the build or asking any questions you might have. I always do my best to reply and help whenever I can. And if you ever get stuck during your playthrough or want to see how this build handles different situations, remember that Jorgrim's entire series is available on the channel, where you can follow his journey step by step from the very beginning all the way to the end. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.